welcome. You're watching WION World is One with me, Ananya Datta, and with me is Hemkar Saroya, my colleague. We have been tracking closely the developments coming in from India. If you're joining us right now, it is voting day here in India. After a 7-phase elections, the mammoth elections concluded on Saturday last weekend. We are in the middle of counting the votes and getting you all the top trends at the moment. Now, this is where it stands at the moment. There are 543 total seats that are being contested on, and the majority mark is the 272 line that you can see on your screens as well, and that is our winning line. Now, NDA at the moment has 296 seats, that's the leads, and India bloc surprisingly has 228 seats, and that's where things stand at the moment. And there is a specific focus this time on Uttar Pradesh, and we're just being told that Smriti Irani from Amethi is trailing by a huge margin. At the same time, Maneka Gandhi is also trailing by a huge margin in Uttar Pradesh Sultanpur.
Surprisingly, it's proven to be the big upset this time around. Of course, we're seeing how the battle is playing out there. In fact, Ananya, I would also like to bring our viewers up to date with all that's transpired so far and the top developments that we are looking at. Of course, the picture is only getting clearer. So far, we've only been tracking the numbers that are coming in and the early election trends. As Ananya mentioned, the state of Uttar Pradesh, that's turning out to be the huge upset for BJP. The India bloc is ahead of the NDA here. Then we also have the swing states of West Bengal and Maharashtra that are turning out to be the thorn in BJP's march to that magic 300 number. Meanwhile, it's turning out to be a double delight for Chandrababu Naidu's TDP. And as we were discussing earlier, that perhaps was the most accurate picture that we got out of the exit polls so far.
It does seem like that. Now, we're also being joined by Mr. Kamlesh Sutar. He's the editor of Z24 TOS. Mr. Sutar, thank you so much for joining us here on WION. You have been tracking India elections for as long as I can remember. What is your perspective? How are you reading these numbers, sir?
Looking at the numbers, especially from the western state of Maharashtra, Maharashtra has thrown up surprising results. This is one state that has given great numbers to BJP in the 2019 and 2014 elections. So this time around, a big setback for the BJP. Almost, if you look at the numbers at this point in time, less than half of the numbers that they had garnered in 2019 elections. So 2019, the numbers stood at 42. At this point of time, as we speak, the numbers are just around 20. So that is how bad the setback is. If you look at the entire picture where BJP had gained last time, it was mostly the northern state and western state. So Maharashtra, Gujarat and Rajasthan were the states where the BJP gained maximum. In Rajasthan and Gujarat, BJP's performance was 100% strike rate, whereas in Maharashtra they had gotten 42 out of 48 seats. So this time, this is considered as a big setback. So the overall number, if you look at the overall numbers, pan-India, the major setback coming in from states like Maharashtra and Uttar Pradesh, with Maharashtra playing a major role, where two factions of two parties, two factions of the Shiv Sena, two factions of the NCP, the Nationalist Congress Party, were in fray. One faction aligned with the BJP, the other faction aligned with the Congress, and it was going to be an interesting fight for the first time in the history of Maharashtra's politics. This was one crucial election that everyone thought that this would go down the wire. And if I can, give you some numbers or some interesting fights in Maharashtra, this is going down to the wire, like local elections where the leads are by 5,086, and one of the constituencies is Mumbai. The lead is the lead was hardly 86 just an hour before. So this election is certainly going down the wire, especially in Maharashtra, which has thrown up some surprising results.
Sir, I believe it would be safe to say right now that the state is set for some tectonic shifts here. I just wanted to get your perspective on that. What sort of overhaul are we looking at here, if at all?
In Maharashtra?
Right, sir.
Or the entire... Yeah, see, Maharashtra, as I said, there are two factions of two different parties were in fray. But if you look at the local issues in Maharashtra, more than the national issues, the local issues in Maharashtra, the issues of two parties being split, the issue of use of central agencies against leaders, because most of the leaders were shifted. Remember, in 2014, what were the election issues that BJP came to power with for the first time? It was the Aadhar scam and the irrigation scam that the BJP fought on. But this time around, leaders who were accused in the scam, like somebody like Ajit Pawar, who stood accused in the 70,000 crore irrigation scam, is now with the BJP. Ashok Chavan, who was in the line of fire for the Adarsh scam, Adarsh scam. He is with the BJP now. He's joined BJP and is being made the Rajya Sabha MP by the Bharatiya Janata Party. So the issue of corruption, good governance was in question in Maharashtra. Of course, allied with the issue of Shiv Sena being split into two parties and a section of Shiv Sena joining the BJP or aligning with the BJP only because of only due to the fear of agencies acting against them, ED, CBI and income tax, as Supriya Sule oftenly used to quote during the elections. ICE, income tax, CBI and ED. The use of ICE against the opponents, the politics of vendetta was made the election issue, and somewhere it seems that it has percolated down to the voters, and that is perhaps showing in the results at this point.
Right, Mr. Sudhir, you put it perfectly. It is going down the wire in Maharashtra, and as you pointed out, there are two factions of Shiv Sena, there's two factions of NCP. I want to ask you, this political conundrum we've been seeing in Maharashtra pan out over weeks and months before elections. Who do you think it benefited? Who do you think it came at a cost? And what about the voters? Aren't they perplexed?
See, as far as the voters are concerned, I'll tell you, the urban voter and the rural voters, we have to talk about them separately. One, rural distress was an important issue in Maharashtra. At least 4 constituencies that I know onion was the issue in these 4 constituencies. Constituencies like Nasik, Dindori, Shirur and Dhule. These 4 constituencies had onion at the core of the issue. So agrarian distress, remember the onion import crisis had become such a big political issue, but in these 4 constituencies and in parts of Maharashtra it was an issue. Also coupled with the MSP, the issue of minimum support price for farm produce was another issue. The prices for soya bean and farmer suicides obviously was an issue. It has been an issue, but this time around it was well used by the opposition. It was percolated down in the rural areas. It was a campaigning issue. Urban areas, we have seen a different kind of polarization for the first time. And viewers across India, pan-India, who have known Shiv Sena as a staunch right-wing party, Shiv Sena got a large-scale support from Muslim voters in urban areas. That was also made a political issue by the BJP and its allies, saying that Shiv Sena rallies are being attended by the ones having beard and a skull cap. But Muslim voters in urban areas have largely rallied behind Shiv Sena. That is what the primary picture has been, that is coming out of Mumbai and urban areas. So the two different perspectives of urban and rural voters. But in a nutshell, the rural voters supporting parties like Congress and NCP, Sharad Pawar, and urban voters rallying behind Shiv Sena, added with Muslim voters. Remember, like 10 or 15 years ago, nobody would have thought that Muslims would be voting for a party like Shiv Sena, but that seems to be happening in areas where Shiv Sena candidates are leading at this point. So,
the
surprising results being thrown up in Maharashtra.
Absolutely, it is being thrown up. There's a lot to decode there, and you've bring in some very interesting perspective there. Stay with us, Mr. Suthir. If I could quickly go across to my correspondent, Dharamjot Kaur, who's joining us from the newsroom. Dharamjot, we have been talking about the issues in Maharashtra and how it has gone down the wire. When we come to Delhi, it is the opposite. Right now, according to the Election Commission of India's website, as I can see, all 7 parties are going to the BJP.
Well, Ananya, it's definitely a repeat of what we saw in 2019. Nothing seems to have changed in terms of, the mandate that has been put out by Delhi's voters. And this is very surprising because we've seen the political landscape of Delhi shift, over the past couple of months in terms of how the entire arrest and custody of sitting Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal played out. We saw him come out of jail on bail. We saw him campaign for the Aam Aadmi Party. We've seen a lot of narratives that were built in the national capital in terms of, an intense political climate between the Bharatiya Janata Party, the Congress and the Aam Aadmi Party. But all of that, has seemingly gone redundant as far as, the Aam Aadmi Party is concerned, even though they are in power in the state. As far as the voter psychology and the voter mandate is concerned in New Delhi, they have voted in terms of, what the national mandate is. They voted with a mindset of, what the outlook of the general elections would look like, and not issues or not problems that are specific to the national capital. So a more nationalistic outlook over here in terms of how the Delhi, voters have cast their ballot, and very much in tandem with, how it went down in 2019 as well. So no surprise over there in terms of voter psychology, but definitely a surprise for the Aam Aadmi Party because all the narratives, all the campaigning, and the entire case of Arvind Kejriwal, Aam Aadmi Party's top leaders, and the excise policy, it didn't really play out the way they wanted it to.
Right. In fact, Dharamjot, I want to ask you about the entire North Belt as well. We've seen how Uttar Pradesh, that's emerged as a big upset as well. That has come as a surprise. When we talk about the Hindi heartland, what sort of shifts are we noticing here as per the trends that we've seen so far?
Well, it's definitely a very unprecedented trend, as far as Uttar Pradesh is concerned. Again, we've been talking about it since morning when we saw, early trends indicate a tectonic shift in terms of how the voters have cast their franchise. So we're seeing a split right down the middle in terms of, the early trends and what they're telling us. 34, 35 seats for the BJP, 36 for the Samajwadi Party, numbers fluctuating between 7 or 8 for the Congress, which takes the India bloc, to over 40 seats out of 80 as of now. So a very interesting outlook in terms of how the vote bank in Uttar Pradesh has voted out, in a sense, the ruling party that has always in the past decade had a very strong hold over that particular state. But ever since 2019, we've seen a lot of issues emerge, which has also centered around the state of Uttar Pradesh. We've been talking about how Haryana and Punjab were at the center of the farmers' agitation in 2020 and 2021. But it's equally important to know that the agriculture belt in Uttar Pradesh was also a massive part of that movement. We've seen farmers from the sugarcane belt of this state actively taking part in that protest, voicing their dissent against laws that are obviously now repealed. But the after effects of that are still felt in the sugarcane belt of Uttar Pradesh. And it's also important to note here that the Samajwadi Party, which had a dismal of 5 seats in 2019 and are now standing at about 36 seats and still counting, that party, with its stronghold over the Yadav household name that it has been, they kind of diversified into ensuring that they dip their toes into also luring in the other non-Yadav vote bank, the other backward classes, and the entire diversification that they went for, that seems to be paying off for them. So how this pans out, I mean, we still have a lot of votes to be counted, but so far the early split mandate is coming as a shock to everybody alike.
Absolutely, Dharamjot. Stay with us. Mr. Sudhir, if I could quickly go back to you. I know you've been extensively talking about Maharashtra and how the politics has changed, what could come, really covering all the doors that you can cover. But I want to ask about India overall, now, because we have seen some very unexpected seats being flipped. That's what we are expecting according to the Election Commission of India. What do you make of that? Do you think, which of the two is it? Is it that the BJP made some mistakes, or is it that the India alliance came with some gains that no one really saw coming?
Well, a mix of both. India alliance initially, when it was formed, if you remember, the first meeting took place in Patna, but later Nitish Kumar was the one who hosted the first meeting and was the first to leave the alliance as well. Initially it was seen as a formidable alliance, but with allies like Nitish Kumar going out of the way, many questioned the very existence, how far this alliance could go. But issues like the issue of constitution, say for example, it worked really well, and India alliance got it, used it in its stride all throughout the election. Again, in states like Maharashtra or even states, other states, the issue was raised time and again that the constitution would be changed, and the Prime Minister himself in almost all of his rallies had to go on and on explaining how the BJP is working for the betterment of Constitution A and how it will not change, and on the contrary how it is the Congress that has changed the Constitution time and again in the past. The biggest difference that I see in this election was in 2014 and 19, it was the BJP that was setting the narrative for the opposition and the opposition was falling into the trap. But this time around, the issue raised by the opposition, that of constitution, that constitution would be changed, reservations would be compromised. this issue was put up by the opposition and followed up by the BJP giving explanations, and that is where I think, largely the elections, the number game changed. This is what I feel. That's my personal opinion. BJP for the first time was seen falling into the trap that was laid by the opposition, the Prime Minister, the Home Minister, constantly explaining on an explanation mode rather on how they would be working for the constitution rather than focusing more on the development agenda or their core issues that they wanted to focus on.
Right.